Kayaking's near Whataroa. We've hiked about 25 kilometres all the way along the track. All the way up to Butler Junction. It was a pretty big day, about 10 hours. Just arrived at the blimmin' ice lake. Done the massive uphill slog, but we made it, and it's going to be a good night camping here this evening, and then on the river tomorrow, and out over the next couple of days. Made our way down about 500 metres of class 3-4 mank, just down from the ice lake to here where we got out. It basically drops off the face of the earth. So probably for the next 4 or 5 kilometres we're going to be doing some tough portaging down to Butler Junction Hut. Just got back to Butler Junction Hut, been a big day. Fingers crossed this rain eases up and doesn't get going tomorrow, because if not it could be a rowdy float out. Here we are this morning, and the plan is to paddle at 25 kilometres all the way back out. Trying to make the trip absolutely complete with us. You've got the ice lake, epic mountains, epic white water, hot bulls, and then some sweet gorges downstream. I think it's going to be hard to bloody beat. We're on the homeward straight now. We're just past the final gorge. Confluence with the first down here.
Hello everyone, this is Borna Kazerani from Melbourne, Australia. I hope you're doing fine. First of all, thank you so very much for all your lovely comments and messages regarding all my previous episodes, and please forgive me if I'm not able to reply you all. Today, I'm going to have a conversation with Barny Young, who was born in New Zealand in 1986. He is one of the successful and well-known kayakers from the South Island of New Zealand, who has been kayaking since he was 15 years old. He's been experienced kayaking for more than 14 years. He also experienced over 50 first descents on 3 different continents, and team member of 3 successful Sir Edmund Hillary Grant expeditions. And he also studied at the University of Canterbury and received his BA education in teaching in 2008. Let me ask Barney to join me for a conversation. Barney, hey! How you doing?
Yeah, good. How you getting on?
Good. Sorry, we had to start a little bit earlier, but unfortunately, I've got a little bit technical issue here on at my studio, and I couldn't start it. So, how are you doing? Do you want to say quick hi to those who are watching us right now, and maybe later?
Yeah, I'm doing sweet. Just got back home from work, and it's beer o'clock here in New Zealand. It's 7 o'clock, so I've just cracked open a cider and looking forward to our chat.
That's right. Can you fix your phone somewhere that it's stop shaking from what you need? Perfect. Yes. So you've got amazing experience, and I've read and the people question have already started coming through. So I hope we get a chance to go through your questions, but I've got my own questions first, and then let's see how it goes. So Barney, you are the first kayaker on my show, and also you're a very successful successful kayaker. I know your whole life is just what you do and what you have passion for. I know you bought your first kayak at the age of 15. And why and how did you become interested in this regard? Tell me about when did it start from?
When I was young, I used to live in a small town called Turangi in the North Island. And basically, Mum used to drop me and my little brother up a river. So we'd get dropped off in an inflatable kayak, which was probably worth about $100. And we would just float back down and finish about 1 kilometre away from home and chuck it on our shoulders and walk home. Those were back in the days when, you know, all I'd wear for dry wear was a $1 woolen top from the local op shop and things like that. And yeah, bumped into a few kayakers doing that, and it looked a bit more fun what they were doing in their plastic kayaks, and learnt to roll, and kind of the rest history. That's how I got into it to begin with, in a way.
Okay, so and tell me about the connection between you and what you're doing, kayaking. So I don't know anything about your world, so I want to get to know more about your personality between you and kayaking. And also, if you can fix the camera, would be perfect because it keeps shaking, and I'm just
yeah, I'm just holding it. I'm just holding it in my hand. So yeah, I've just got my phone. There we go.
Perfect. If you can put something behind that to fix it, it would be great. Okay, go on.
I'll see if the old pop does the trick here. Let's see. Might slip forward. Maybe my cider will come in handy. That might be perfect. Better. Legend. So, what was that question again? Sorry, Borna, I missed you.
That's right. So I want to know, I don't know much about your whole world. So I'm passionate you're doing as a kayaker. So I want to know about the connection between you and what you're doing as a kayaker. Because for someone like you who's been doing it for 14 years, it's such a huge amount of years that you've been doing it. So tell me about the connection, about your personality, and also what you do as a kayaker, please.
I mean, pretty much generally when you're starting out kayaking, it's all about, you're pretty freaked out, you're pretty scared, and it's just a fun time learning to roll, learning to paddle what we call class 1 and 2, which is small rapids. And you basically build up your skills. One of the first things you learn is how to actually do an Eskimo roll, which is when we flip upside down and we get ourselves back upright again. And you'll learn that in a swimming pool, and then you kind of progress through the grades. And kind of when you get to where I am now, you're kind of starting to get a bit older. You're not quite as crazy as when you were 21, but you start to think, hey, you know what? Where I'm going is still beautiful places. So you start to kind of appreciate the awesome nature more, and still want to get rowdy, still want to do some crazy things. But, you know, when you're 21, that's kind of all you want to do. And yeah, you know, I'm 33 now, so sometimes now it's nice to do the odd easy trip or to do a hard trip in a beautiful place.
Absolutely. And yeah, and as an expedition kayaker, so you've also been so lucky to travel to some of the most remote and beautiful locations in the world. So 3 different continents in the world. So tell me about your strange experiences. Let us know more about you.
Yeah, traveling with a kayak's always more difficult, you know. When we first started flying, it was pretty easy to get the old kayaks on the plane just by a bit of sweet talk and a little bit of a wink to the person on the checkout desk. But these days it's much more difficult. But yeah, kayaking takes you to some of the most beautiful places in the world, and you meet some wild people. When we went, Papua New Guinea is an example of that. You know, most people that hang out in PNG, you know, locals, expats, people that are flying helicopters and things, doing the mining. Basically, most of them live in compounds. So, you know, they've got a big electric fence, security, and we were out there with a bunch of our, you know, a bunch of best friends just on the back of a Land Cruiser, cruising around in the middle of the jungles, going for it. So, got to meet a lot of local tribes, and yeah, had a really good time. But definitely, you know, some wild experiences over there too, because it's not the normal place a white boy from New Zealand travels. That's for sure.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, because I've looked at your Instagram page many times, and there are lots of great actually videos and photographies. So that have been taken of you and your friends or your colleagues or whoever been accompanying you. And I also know you're very interested in photography and you're passionate. So is there any video or and like photographers through each trip, or like you've got your own crew, or no, like you work with different? Tell me about the process. Tell me about who've been taking these amazing shots and like videographs.
With kayakers, basically we're in the middle of nowhere, so you just have to learn to take your own photos. You know, it's not like kind of in a city where you pay someone that's really good to come and photograph what's going on. You're in the middle of nowhere. You can't get photographers to these places. So you just learn to take photos yourself, and you and your friends get a few snaps, basically just to kind of share the epic places you've been. Because the only way to do that, you know, if you do it yourself, there's no way you're going to get professional photographers into the gorges we go to. They might get better photos than us, but they might not come out alive. So it's probably safer just to learn to take your own camera.
Oh, okay. So you and your friends have done all those shots and all those videos that we see on your Instagram page. Am I right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You know, the odd time you'll have someone else, but especially where I live on the west coast of New Zealand, a lot of the rivers we paddle, the only way in is in a helicopter. So there's no roads in or out. So sometimes we have to fly in. These days the helicopter's getting a bit more expensive, so we don't fly quite as often. But kind of once you're in, sometimes the only way out is downstream. So often it's just you and your mates. In California and stuff, it's a bit different, but often the rivers are, you know, still just as remote. Often just a big walk in, or once you're in. So it kind of makes it hard for people to photograph that aren't on the river themselves, basically. So it's kind of cool because of that. But yeah.
There are thousands of amazing shots. I'm a filmmaker myself, and when I'm looking at them, I thought probably before each trip you've got like your set, like, you know, for example, that you're doing kayaking from like point A to B to C, and you've already confirmed with your crew, like photography or videographers to come along with you. I didn't know that you've done everything by yourself and with your friends also.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just you and your mates, and that's what makes it pretty cool. I mean, kayaking is a pretty you know, shoestring budget sport. We don't have money to pay for film crews. It's just a matter of doing it with your mates and having a good time and seeing what happens.
Absolutely. So someone like you, who is a great example of what is the most enjoyable part of that kayaking for you?
When I was young, it just used to be, you know, getting crazy and going off waterfalls and having a blast, getting a little bit scared. Now it's probably just as much that, but it's also just about going to epic places no one's been before. So where I live on the coast, there's a lot of sheer-walled canyons, and, you know, it's 100, 200 meters up, and often kayakers are the only people that have floated through those places. Maybe them and the blue duck, our native bird.
Okay, If you remember, yesterday when we had a conversation, I've asked you that do you build your kayak? But also today, since I started advertising on my page about that, I'm going to have a conversation with you today. There are lots of questions about that. Like, have you built any one of your kayaks before or previously?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't build my own kayaks. They're rotomolded plastic. They're pretty strong. I mean, back in the day, some of the original kayakers, you know, before I was alive or when we were both very young, were doing the same stuff in fiberglass kayaks, or maybe not quite as crazy stuff as we do today. But, you know, often the kayaks might only last one trip, or they'd break into bits. With the kayaks we use today, they're really strong. You know, you've got to imagine if you're falling off a 50-foot waterfall, the impact at the bottom's pretty good. So the last thing you want to be doing is making it yourself out of a few branches or you know, the leftover rubbish sack, because you know, you wouldn't get very far.
It's going to smash. So, and also there were another things like there are lots of people who are interested in watching and have got a passion for kayaking. So, the very first question, like I encountered with was, what's the best step to start from? So, where is the best step to start from to learn what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the best way would be to try and find a local canoe club, look in your area, jump on Google these days. You know, it's pretty easy and find out. And the first step would probably be to do a beginner's course. You know, if you're at university, often universities have university canoe clubs, which is a good, cheap way to get into the sport. If you really want to get into whitewater, you kind of want to learn to roll in a swimming pool with someone that can teach you, and then just, you know, do a basic beginner's course and yeah, start on flat water and move your way up and see what you think, basically. And once you're at that point, it's just a matter of finding a bunch of like-minded friends and getting out there and finding rivers that are at your level. But it's definitely a lot more work than, you know, going skiing or something like that. You can't just rock up to the nearest ski field and get into it. You kind of got to pursue it a bit more.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you a favor, and you know what I'm talking about. So, I want you to grab your camera and give us a small tour and show us around and the things that you've got ready for today. And that would be lovely too.
I've been pretty busy at work, but I've dragged in a kayak, and here it is. This one is actually an old one that I've had lying under the house that I've just dragged out. But it's made in England.
Okay, do it slowly and let's see everything.
Yeah, so here you go. So basically this is one of the kayaks we use, and as you can see, it's pretty strong, you know, not going to go anywhere. It would break my foot before my foot breaks it. And this here we call a cockpit, and these here, this is where your knees are going to go. So your knees tuck in under here, and then you've got your seat. So you've got a back band here, and they're pretty light. They're about 20 kilos. This foam bar down here running the length back, basically that provides rigidity. So that kind of stops the kayak breaking under impact. This one's designed for some pretty serious white water. And as you can see down here, that's where your legs go, and you've got the footrests right at the front here. And custom to size. I'm missing a screw there. This one's had a hard life. You can actually see I've actually broken the bottom of it and patched it up there. But I've got the new one over at the other house. But this one was just easy to reach. I raced in here after work. But basically you can do up the ratchet here and jump on in. And if I'll just jump in it now quickly, and you can see I'll do a bit of a selfie. You can see now I'm in the kayak, and you can see I'm really locked in tight. So this is what means when you flip upside down. When you flip upside down, you're able to roll back up because your knees are locked in here, and there's no going anywhere. As you can see, I'm rocking back and forth here inside and in the kayak, and it's pretty solid. So yeah, they're pretty awesome bit of kit, and we're lucky to have them.
I want to see a wide shot of that. Can you coming back? I want to see the whole kayak actually in a frame. If you can show us. The other, like you need to rotate the
There we go.
Well, like 2 meters. Am I right? Or is it just
9 foot long, and that's why it's called the 9R.
And they're all on the same, like size-wise. It depends on how tall you are, or how people usually choose their kayak for themselves.
I'm a little bit big, so this one's like a large size kayak. But basically, the new kayaks like this one, they're all around the sort of 3 meter mark for whitewater creeking, which is called a creek boat. Many kayaks that you'll see around the world, you'll see much longer ones on roofs, and they're actually designed for people that do flat water racing. So you'll see long kayaks with rudders that might be 2 or 3 times as long as this, but they're designed to go really fast on flat water, whereas this one's designed to be much more maneuverable and able to do some quite dangerous rapids in. Whereas one of those long flat water boats is much faster than this on flat water. But if you took it down the rapids that we do, it wouldn't last very long.
Okay, I can see the last question. There are like more than 100 questions here. So people want to see that underneath of kayak, is it like flat, or what's underneath?
Yeah, I'll show you the underneath for this one. So yeah, you can see this one's rounded. You can see this one's rounded here. And basically you've got these edges. What you're looking for in a whitewater kayak is these edges, and these edges are what basically allow you to maneuver in rapids. So yeah, that's what makes the kayak really good. Obviously at the front here you've got it narrower because you don't want it to be like a barge. This makes it maneuverable. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the front, and then obviously the rear. And like I said, I've actually patched this one. This one's had a very hard life. I've landed on a big rock from quite high on it, so it's got a small crack, and I'm just trying to save the planet and make it last a bit longer, give it some more love.
So you're not riding that one anymore?
I wouldn't take that one on a really hard river, but on easy rivers I'll take that one too, basically so that I can put some wear and tear on it. And I wouldn't take this one on a really hard river, but for easy rivers I take it. It's a good spare boat. It's a good backup boat. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So what else have you got to show us there?
I'll flick it round here. I've just got a few pictures, a couple canvases, a few of my favourite shots from over time, and that's about all I've got in here really. But let's have a look. I'll flick this camera around. So this picture here is one of those crazy spots we went. I took this photo actually out of the helicopter, and yeah, basically we were flying up this river to do a first descent, me and some friends, and as you can see here, all the water kind of lands on these rocks there, and that waterfall is probably 90 foot, 100 foot high, and then you can see more and more go up. So this is actually the one river in my life that I've flown up, and then said to the helicopter pilot, "Oh, actually, no, fly me back to the bottom." Normally, kind of once we put the money in the helicopter pilot's pocket, we want to get on the river, and often we'll portage rapids, but as you can see, this one wouldn't have ended up being possible in a day trip. We would have needed to abseil down this waterfall, and you can imagine how difficult it would be to try, and there's no tracks or anything in this bush. So we decided we were picking off more than we could chew that day, and flew back to the bottom. This here's a canvas actually that I've got in the house with me and some good friends, and this was actually of my first trip to Papua New Guinea with some good friends, and you can see just a few of my favorite photos. This was about 10 years ago.
Can you go closer, please?
Yeah, so you can see that's a local village that we've spotted along the bank there, and you've got me and my two good buddies, Shannon and Geordie. That's me on the right there. And this is just a village that we met on the way down, and we stopped and hung out with the kids, hung out with the locals there for a while. This river trip took us about 3 days. This here is another one. This was quite a crazy story because I was swimming with all the local kids. You can see them. This is at a local small village there, and not long after getting out of there, one of the village elders actually said to me, he said, "Oh, crazy! Someone got taken by a crocodile there about a couple of weeks before we were there. So one of the village locals actually got eaten." This is something I think is pretty cool. Makes us realise how lucky we are in New Zealand and Australia. This is actually one of the bridges. So I got up and took this photo of my friend here coming underneath it. But you can see this bridge. That's about, to give you a gauge, hard to have perspective, but about probably 80 meters wide. And they've made that with jungle twine. So, yeah, basically they'd go back and forth across there most days, the villagers, to go and get supplies from the other side of the river, maybe to go and tend their crops and that kind of thing. Here's a wee local kid, you know, we chucked him in. We sort of showed him how, and you can't quite tell. My camera's not very good, but he was pretty stoked. And yeah, here's a seal from the beach nearby me here. Nothing to do with kayaking, but I'll show you a couple more shots.
Wow.
This here, this is that gorge I was sort of what I was talking about. Why now?
Hands up.
This is why kayaking now, you know, once you become an old bugger like me, is still an awesome sport. Even if you're not doing quite as crazy stuff as you used to, these are the places you get to see in a kayak, and to be honest, it's mind blowing. This is the west coast of New Zealand, and I actually safety kayak on a river called the Whareroa near me, which is not this river, but just as beautiful. And we take heli rafting trips down there, which is pretty cool, you know, for people to check out. And then we go over here, and this is a shot of me from about 10 years ago in California, going off a waterfall called Rattlesnake. And this is California is kind of where everything is wild and crazy. And yeah, this is a photo a good friend took of me, yeah, about 10 years ago. But we've been back for a few trips to Cali and been down this river Royal Gorge since. But it's kind of known as probably the big waterfall run in the world. It's pretty crazy, and if you're feeling wild, there's definitely enough to keep you entertained on that river. But the good thing about it is, you know, you can walk the rapids if you want to as well. But this one, Rattlesnake, it's about 60 foot, so 20 meters tall.
Can you go closer, please? I want to see that.
So you can see the bottom there. And then that's me at the top. Basically, when you're going off a waterfall like this, the key thing is to make sure, as you can see I am there, you're tucked up and leaning forward, because the last thing you want to do is land flat. Probably the most dangerous injury to have in kayaking is to pull a stroke there. You can see I'm leaning right forward. I'm tucked up. But if you pull a stroke there, which is possible, you know, sometimes you get a bit scared. If you fly out off the waterfall like that and land flat at the bottom, that's where a lot of kayakers get injured, and by compressing the spine, basically. So the idea is to pencil in like you're jumping off a big, you know, like you're jumping off a diving board. Imagine you'd always want to pencil in with your feet landing first, as opposed to a belly flop. You know, it's the same idea as a kayak. You want to make sure you pencil in and your nose goes deep, and then you come out and you know, you go underwater maybe 4 or 5 meters on a really big one, and then you'll resurface, you know. So that's the key thing you want to do on big waterfalls is protect your back, basically.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, thank you very much for showing us around. And also, when you were talking about the Papua New Guinea, did you know that I work in PNG in Manus Island as an interpreter?
Oh, nice. No, I didn't know that. How long did you spend in Manus?
Yes, in Manus. So I've been working with refugees as an interpreter over the past few years. So my very last question for you is, I know you studied at the University of Canterbury, and received BA. in teaching in 2008. But the things that I don't understand is the connection between the major which you graduated from and what you're doing as a professional kayaker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a PE teacher and an outdoor ed teacher by trade. To be honest, professional kayak is not really a real job. There's maybe 2 or 3 people in the world that might make a living off it, and you know, you don't see many people buying houses that are professional kayakers. Most of them are living out of their vans and you know, still getting mummy and daddy to put food in their tummy when they come home for visits during the holidays. But there's 2 or 3 that are making an honest living out of it. But like I said, most professional kayakers, I don't even really consider it a term. Normally kayakers refer to themselves as dirt bags because they're kind of gypsies, and there's not huge money in the sport. There's obviously opportunities, but you know, there's a few people that might make a living, but very, very few. It's definitely some people, you do it for the love, not for the money. That's for sure.
That's the things I didn't know that, because I was going to tell you that, well, you've experienced traveling everywhere, almost in 3 different continents. So why you're not trying to go back to those countries and train people or train those who might be interested, you know, to be or become a kayaker. So, but you've explained well. So you said, well, this is not like they're not much fan, or you know, people don't see it as a, I don't know. That's the things that you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that teach kayaking for a living, but you know, I'd rather go kayaking with my good friends and work a normal job during the week. But you know, some people reckon make your sport your job, but then it doesn't become as fun. You know, I prefer to do a normal job, save up some money, and then go and make the most of it with my friends. But that said, you know, we've been lucky, me and my friends. We've had some good opportunities. Sport New Zealand's given us money in the past to go on some awesome expeditions to Brazil, to PNG, and you know, even some of the kayaking companies are pretty good at giving gear and helping look after you. But it's definitely not something you do to make a living. That's for sure. You're definitely doing it on shoestring budgets. It's not like the big actors or anything like that. That's for sure.
Sure. I have to come to New Zealand. I love to try, so once at least. And you're there. I know you there. So, and then I have to try. So
definitely have to try and. I'd highly recommend going whitewater rafting in New Zealand. It's not the scariest place to do it, but it's definitely the most beautiful.
Absolutely. Barny, it was such a lovely conversation with you. I really appreciate it for your time. And I could eventually have you here on my show. And thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Did you like our conversation?
Yeah, cheers to that, Borna. It was great. Good to do something different. Thanks for having me along.
No, thank you. It was a great conversation with you. I've got information about kayaking or kayak, so now I know what you're doing. So I hopefully see you one day in reality.
Exactly. Yeah, you're coming to New Zealand, you know, feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to hook you up with the company I go heli rafting with. It's a safety code for it. It's called Eco Rafting, and yeah, look it up if anyone's watching this. Eco Rafting, if you want to see what whitewater rafting looks like near me. And you don't have to have any experience to go rafting. Kayaking takes a long time, but if you want to jump in a raft, and actually where I live, it's heli rafting. So you fly up in the helicopter. There's no roads there. You pump the rafts up at the top of the river. They drop you off. You wave goodbye to the pilot, and it's about 15-20 kilometers of fun white water and beautiful scenery, and yeah. Finish near a pub and you're ready for a beer when you get out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and you take care, be well, and have a wonderful time or night or evening. It's yeah.
Cheers, Borna. Have a good one. Good to chat, mate. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching us. Actually, I had a conversation, great conversation with Barny Young. If you want to find out more about Barny, you can go to his page on Instagram. Take care. Be well.